Short Haul, a short journey to the lives of real people with life lessons just for you. I hope you're feeling it, for it's that time again to join me, your host, Willie Hall. So, grab your favorite drink and relax, or cruise down the road while you enjoy another journey into the lives of real people, having food for the soul. Food that entertains and feeds all people, both young and old. And don't be surprised if your podcast host shares some of his own pot of gold. Dear listener, thanks again for joining me, your host, Willie Hall, for another story from the lives of real people having life lessons. Today's story I've titled, A Diamond in the Rough. Some background. Between August 2013 and July 2016, I was a senior naval science instructor for a Navy Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, Navy JRTC for short, program at a high school in South Carolina. Originally, when I came into that job, I did not intend to be there for more than a year, but circumstances led me to be there for 3. My colleague in the program was a retired U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Major. He's an outstanding individual who gave himself fully to the success of the program and the benefit of our 138 cadets. We shared the same passion and vision and complemented each other along with our leading cadets to get the job done. We also received wonderful support from the parents of several cadets and from the greater community in which the school was located, making it possible to do additional character development activities like military drill, ground orienteering, athletic competitions, rifle competitions, physical fitness training, PFT, etc. PFT was especially beneficial in teaching our cadets good followership and leadership principles. The fact that my colleague and I did the PFTs alongside them motivated many to go farther and faster. Well, let me focus in on one of my cadets. This cadet, I won't give you her name, and just so you know, I did talk with her probably about a week back and gained her permission to share her story, which she was highly supportive of. She graduated back in 2014 from the high school in which I was teaching and where I worked and ran that program. She came to our program during her senior year after having completed 2 years in an alternative school. She came from an unstable home life. Matter of fact, during her senior year, she lived in several different homes, jumping from house to house, which made life rather challenging and difficult for her. One day I got an email from one of the core subject teachers in the high school who warned me that she was actually contemplating dropping out of high school her senior year. Armed with that information, I approached her and counseled her and kept staying on top of her, encouraging her, no, you need to stay the course, you need to graduate with your class, and don't give up no matter how difficult life may be. Well, I can tell you that both my partner and I, we had the respect of our cadets, and all the other teachers realized that as well. As 2 good instructors with a common vision, common goal, you can do a lot of great things in the lives of high school-aged children that can complement and support what many parents are doing at home. To show you what kind of a rough upbringing she had, or in the environment in which she lived, she actually lived in a part of town that was unofficially known as the Hood. And for many of you who maybe grown up in inner cities and stuff like that, in some more challenging parts of our America, you can readily identify what goes behind that expression. Well, she sometimes got herself into trouble in other classes for yielding to outbursts, especially when she thought someone or herself was being treated unfairly. Whenever she was in this emotional state of mind, she was mostly unapproachable. I soon realized she needed to be removed from the situation where the outburst took place and then given time to calm her passions. What I would do, I'd remove her from the classroom and I'd give her about 5 to 10 minutes to cool off. But once I set her outside the classroom, I did give her words of admonishment that when I came back, I gently said to her, listen, when I come back, I don't want to hear one thing about what the other person did. I don't want to hear any excuses. All I want you to be thinking of for the next 5 to 10 minutes is what could I have done better to handle that situation in which she just came out of. Well, I can tell you those fruitful discussions were definitely beneficial for her. It gave her time to cool down, collect her thoughts, and really look through the situation and say, Commander, I should have did this and this and this. And I said, absolutely right. And provide a little bit of course correction if there's something that needed to be addressed. Well, once she finally graduated high school, even before, just probably the week before, I said, hon, you really do need to get out of that situation you're in to advance your life and make for a greater success as a young adult. So I encouraged her to join the Navy. Well, I called her every 2 weeks for several months, and I'd say, Cadet so-and-so, did you go to the recruiter and talk to the recruiter? Oh, Commander, I'm sorry, I didn't. I said, get your butt down there and go talk to the recruiter. I would not let go of this young lady. I kept calling her every 2 weeks for several months because I knew if she didn't get out of that environment she was in, life was not going to be good for her. Well, needless to say, coincidence, maybe an invisible hand behind the scenes, I don't know. Well, the day I had called was a day in which she actually had stooped so low because she was hungry and she needed a meal that she actually stole a package of chicken from a store. And it was the same day I happened to call her again. Hey, did you go down and talk to that recruiter? Well, within 24 hours of these events taking place, the Navy recruiter knocked on her door and got her to finally come down to that recruiting station where they talked, and she eventually signed the papers to begin her career in the United States Navy. Well, I'm proud to say that about a year later, this young lady came back to our school, and she was dressed in her uniform, looking sharp. Man, I tell you, you could see the smile on her face. She was happy with her life decision. So one thing I asked her to do that day, I said, listen, I want you to go ahead and speak to our classes. Now, see, I had 3 classes, and my colleague, the sergeant major, he had 3 classes. And sometimes we would combine our 2 classes together, so you're roughly talking about 50 to 60 students, when we would have special speakers. In this case, we had this cadet who had just been where they were just not more than a year ago. So I asked her to speak to our cadets. I tell you, I wish I had a recording of what she said. There was times in that conversation where she looked the kids right in the eye and she said, listen, some of you are having a rough home life. Well, I can tell you, I can identify with you. I grew up at a place called the Hood. Matter of fact, she even talked about how that one time she came in not having any sleep the night before, and I said, what's wrong? And she says, well, I had to lay down on the floor of my house all night because there were bullets going through the walls of my house. Now, again, I never was raised in an environment like that. I had the great fortune to avoid those kind of things, but this young lady didn't. But yet, you know what? Because God put the right persons in her life at the right time, they were to help prod her along the way to not give up, but to keep moving forward, making progress. You know, she looked over to me and Sergeant Major that day when she was speaking to our cadets about her experience in the Navy and how much of a positive change has taken place since she joined. And she, with a quivering chin and tears coming down her eyes, she said, look, sometimes those men, pointing to me and Sergeant Major, sometimes they're going to tell you things that you don't want to hear, but you better listen because it's going to be for your good. You know, I even asked her to describe what it was like for her when she went into a Navy dining facility. I would have thought the lady had died and gone to heaven. I mean, the way she described her first experience, I mean, she described it to the point where she was describing, hey, they had bananas, they had apples, they had oranges, they had this and that. And she's going into great detail describing all the food that she had seen in this dining facility for the very first time in her life. She had never experienced that as a child growing up, okay? And then I said, you know, why don't you tell them about your pay? And with no prepared notes, nothing written down, by memory, she's saying, well, I get paid $2,322.15, and $457.16 goes to federal income tax. And she was just giving dollars and cents all the way down the line of all the different things that her budget went to. And finally, when she finally said all the expenses paid, she said, and I got like $1,232 left over every 2 weeks. And you know what really moved me? When she said, you know, I was up in Chicago, and it was a cold, wintry day. I think she said it was like December or January. And she said she was in this store. She said, this homeless guy, no winter coat, no shoes on his feet. And she thought, oh, my God, God didn't give me all this extra money to spend on myself. And she told the store clerk, you get that man a pair of shoes and you get him a winter coat and I'll pay for it. See, here's a girl that came from nothing. She had a difficult and challenging life. Matter of fact, she faced challenges and difficulties that many, many youth don't even have to experience. And I'm grateful to God for that, for them as well. But yet she saw that need because she knew she was once in need. And yet she took of her own excesses in life now that she was being blessed, and she wound up giving back to her society. You know, today, where is that lady? Well, this lady is presently enrolled in college in her junior undergraduate year, and she's carrying a 3.5 grade point average. You know, when we talked about a week or 2 weeks back, she says that she has dreams of entering the University of South Carolina Law School to become a lawyer and eventually a judge. When she reaches her goal, I'm confident she will exercise her position as a judge with wisdom and care. I think her life's difficulties are the things that are going to help make her and are making her a better person than otherwise she would be without them. With all this story in mind and some of the details I brought out, here's some of the lessons learned that I think will be of benefit to you as well as much as they were to me. The first lesson is, 1. Sometimes your plans will be thwarted or delayed, only for a greater good to come to pass during the interim. 2. Having a colleague or colleagues with similar passion and vision is vital to the success of most endeavors in life, especially in an organization. 3. Look for the diamond in the rough. For sometimes the outward acts of a youth can hide the potential for good that can be drawn out by another with persistence, love, and gentle care. 4. Adjust your style of leadership to fit the person and situation. For if you get it right, the success of those in your care will far excel your every imagination. 5. Don't write off a person if your first impression is a bad impression, for you might be giving up the privilege of mentoring a future Supreme Court judge. 6. Some who come from humble beginnings often appreciate in far greater ways the littlest of blessings as compared to those who grow up having it all. 7. Give to those who give themselves for the development and maturation of the youth in our schools across America. You might find a good team of veterans leading a JROTC program that have many inroads to the lives of young people that will support and complement what their parents are doing at home. 8. A word in private is often effective when dealing with a troublesome youth. And 9, and in closing, give time for an unbridled person to regain control of himself before engaging in meaningful conversation. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining me here at Short Haul, and I look forward to sitting down with you again for another journey into the lives of real people having life lessons. Good day. Thanks, dear listener, for joining your host, Willie Hall. I trust you found some nuggets of gold in today's real stories. Now, help me help Short Haul best serve your listening needs by entering your comments, follows, and likes below. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube so together we'll build the best and fastest growing show. A show that lifts the soul and helps bless all. So until we meet again and beyond, enjoy the life God gave you until your next journey with Short Haul.